3 days.
Yep. I have 2.5.
Then what are you guys going to do?
I have a week off, and I got to go back to summer camp.
There's a shift in the air. The school calendar is going to shift.
We
are going to switch to a balanced calendar within the next year.
You just think in general?
Everybody is. Summer break eventually.
Spokane Public School too?
They will probably do it 25, 26. Freeman's already doing it, where but the summer break will be about 6-7 weeks tops. And you will have more intermittent breaks throughout the school year.
See, I will say we're not talking about bikes at all, but however,
technically we haven't started the show.
I think I like that idea because I always come back from a break and I'm like, I hate work. I hate my job. I hate doing this. And I feel like I go into like, depression's a strong word, but it's like kind of what I feel. So honestly, that might be better for me mentally to just like stick with a consistent schedule.
Yeah.
Say something again. Trying again.
Why does your mic sound so goofy? High frequency, mid. Your mids are way up.
Should I continue to talk?
No, you're fine.
Okay.
I don't give a shit. Actually, I give a shit. I don't know why I say that. That's kind of like
you just sound like Mickey Mouse.
That's like my.
Do I sound different? I do sound different over here. Yeah.
Switch mics.
Well, let me see. Let's see. You were on Sam's mic?
Yeah, I was. What about how do I sound? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
The low is way up. Sam. Jackson's mids. There. We'll see what's going on.
Yeah. Oh, that's
a little better.
Yeah.
It's still got a little tinny tinge to it. Tinny tinge.
There we go.
Tinge of a tin. It's 15 minutes late, and I'm not going to have any really good banter before the show started because I had to go down and adjust microphones. Yeah. But the Whipples are dead to me. Before we begin, sponsor mentions from some of our great supporters. Scratch Labs has the best flavor variety, and their high-carb option is the perfect distance fuel to put in your bottle. If you haven't heard, there are 2 new Scratch flavors for the summer out now, cucumber lime and salted margarita. I know I mentioned this last week with the same ad copy that I was reading, but salted margarita, I want to put a little shot of tequila in it and try it that way. It'd be just like, it's a healthy drink, honey. Get to scratchlabs.com today and grab these exciting new flavors. Next up, Wahoo. Have you heard you can now control both your music and your GoPro camera via your Wahoo computer? I'm probably the only one in the room who regularly rides with a GoPro on the bike, but it's nice. It'd be nice to be able to trigger it on or off and clip starts and stuff like that. So I wonder if my older cameras are going to make it. I will try and let you know. The folks at Wahoo continue to innovate, not to mention the expansion into the wrist-based technology that rivals the best in sports watches for the best pricing you can find. Jackson, right? You got one on right now.
I do.
And you like?
Yes. I'll even have more on it later.
Okay. Oh, okay. Please use the link at Packfiller to show them you heard from us. Speaking of heard from us, it's a long time since we heard the fucking Waples. NordVPN. Catch all the races without surfing the dark web. The IPA's gone, guys. Or whatever back alley method you've been using. You caught me in the middle of a NordVPN read. Secure your online network without breaking the bank. NordVPN is the solution for all your online activities. Use our link at Packfiller to get started today.
Please don't associate me with him. You said Waples is...
That's my bad.
I was only late because of him.
That's my bad.
And so late.
Very
Jesus.
Late. I don't get off till 6, and then my bike fell went over, and I'm trying to build business here.
Where were you picking him up from?
From work.
It's like 4 blocks away.
Yeah, he wasn't done until like 6:11.
Yeah,
Why did you have to pick him up when he's 4 blocks away?
Because I wouldn't have been here till 6:30.
He doesn't
see
have a
my
car.
fat ass run?
Yeah, he doesn't have a car. He doesn't run well.
No. I'm like a newborn fawn.
Not a lot of mobility.
Limbs move in different
Bambi
directions.
with the wobbly legs.
Exactly. And it's taken me at least a half hour to cover those 4 blocks.
We are just 18 days from the start of the Tour de France. For those of you who are counting, why do I say France?
And why did
Because
you
we're
say
cultured.
day?
If I get
Did
an
you say Tour de France?
Tour de France,
I say
Tour de
I
Tour
say
de
Tour of
Tour
France.
de
I say Tour de France.
Tour de France. What do you say, Jackson? Do you say France?
I say Tour de France.
I know, it's so weird, but then I got an airplane ticket to France. For those of you who are counting, and for those counting, welcome to the 434th episode of the Packfiller Cycling Podcast. We are live at packfiller.com as well as our YouTube channel. The beverages of choice are poured with 3 flavors to choose from, courtesy of our friends at Benedito's Pizza. With a new deck expansion on their South Hill location, this is the time to visit for some great food and beverages. Michelle approves actually of their wine on tap, which sounds messed up, but it's actually a great way to keep the wine much fresher rather than what she calls bottle cooked, the wine that sits out in the sun and just toasts. Let's see who's here with tonight's prologue, shall we? Tonight's question: if you were elected president today, what would your first piece of legislation be? What would your first piece of legislation be? We're not going political on this.
I mean, I was about to get political.
We're not going lock up your enemies or
Yeah.
anything like that,
Okay.
or
I'm putting Clint Hastings in jail.
Jesus. There's a picture of you and him.
I know.
before
Fist,
there's
it's
fist
the
bump.
classic, like boxers before the match.
Oh, the stare down,
Yeah.
stare down pose kind of a
Yeah.
thing like that. Were you guys fist bumping or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Touch
saw
of
that
gloves.
picture, Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, we'll get into
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
First off, he's the most conscientious dog owner I have ever met, Mr. Paul Main.
It's not conscientious, I don't think.
Hyper conscientious,
Yeah,
hyper
Only
paranoid.
because of my neighbors. He wasn't a problem when he lived in the house. He could whine and bark all he wants. And he's not going to disturb anybody. But
Last week, Paul went home right before the race gun went off because his dog was barking.
yeah, we have a dog camera. It's called Furbo, and it shoots treats. And he wasn't even responding to the treats. He was just howling and barking. And the neighbor up that lives above us is studying for her paralegal. And yeah,
But that's
Paralegal.
not
So she's
illegal.
Like yeah.
Yeah, it's like, studying to be a...
it's not
Never
how you
mind, I
become
don't want to
friends.
bash it.
You
it's not easy.
Buy her
need
some
doggy
noise
drinks.
canceling. Yeah,
What's
noise
that?
canceling headphones.
Doggy drinks.
No, he does not do well.
Really?
He throws up and stumbles, and he doesn't respond.
What would you rather have? Go home early or a house full of vomit and shit when you get home?
Yeah, and
You
a dog
choose.
with a
And the
broken
Roomba
neck.
runs.
Yeah.
And a dog with a broken neck at
Yeah.
the bottom of the stairs.
Good lord.
So, if Paul, were you elected President Maine, what would your first piece of legislation be?
No daylight savings time.
Ah,
None. Stupid, dumb.
got my
Classic
vote.
old people stuff.
Got my vote.
What? Free Skittles for you?
Yeah, free Skittles.
Everybody gets Skittles.
Did I take yours? I'm sorry, Sam.
That was that was. It's okay. I can come up with a new one.
Next off, he is on the fast track to becoming my sole reason for getting faster, Mr. Sam Waples.
I hate your guts.
I know you do.
Anyway, Mr. President, what shall be day one objective?
I think I would do a lot for infrastructure of bikes. You can't outlaw cars, but I would
Sure you can.
I would make
President.
them so expensive to drive that you would see people pulling tractors with bikes.
Wow,
Yeah,
that'd be interesting.
yeah. I don't know.
Pretty flawed reasoning, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Your example is pretty
Well, I'm just saying
terrible,
it's reaching that far out. Everybody is
okay.
is going to be on a bike.
Okay.
Farmers included.
You'll never make it out of city council.
No, I'll never make it into
Not with
city
those
Get on to
ideas.
city council.
Yeah, not with those ideas.
Yeah, make America bike again.
Yes, that's it.
Next off, he's got expensive friends who make him go to faraway weddings. Mr. David Waples.
Oh, yeah, that's me.
Dude, that was impressive.
Weekend trip to Yosemite. Yeah,
Yeah.
holy crap.
Yeah.
We didn't even go in the park.
Really?
Yeah, because you have to. I thought we were staying in the park, but you have to have a.
Permit.
Yeah, you have to ahead of time, 6 months or something.
Oh, really?
To get in the park now, it's you have to.
To get into the
to
park.
get your car in, you have to
Wow.
reserve a spot 6 months in advance.
Wow.
So
Didn't you go through this sediment like when you were in college or something?
yeah, you just drove in.
Yeah.
Whatever happened to Vegas weddings? You know, it's just like, hey, we're getting a limo,
Flight-
going through the drive-through.
Flights are cheap.
Yeah.
You know.
There was a movie made about that.
Well,
It didn't
honeymoon
turn
in
out
Vegas.
well.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there. Then he did Leaving Las Vegas a little later, and spoiler alert, he died. David, what would be your first legislation?
I'm trying not to, I don't want to be political or anything, but I work in healthcare and it sucks.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it needs a lot of changes. So, I don't know what the
Free
best idea
healthcare.
is. Free healthcare would be great. I don't know how we do it, but maybe you just tear it all down so that we can rebuild it.
We're a socialist
other way.
podcast.
We're becoming. I understand that. Yeah. Okay. No, I would
Yeah,
like
I think Universal would work pretty well personally.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd probably make a lot less money and I'd be fine with it because I might be happy.
for the second time with insurance. I owe like $3,000 just for my heart ablation. So.
Dude, I can't
with
even.
insurance.
I
Yeah.
can't. I'm embarrassed. I've had to call my insurance like 4 times. I can't even get a hold of them. I don't even know what to do with these bills. I'm a physician.
You know how
can't even
nice it
operate.
is to hear a doctor say they can't get a hold of their
I
insurance
can't
company.
even. I can't even. I can't even operate the healthcare system. I'm like one of the deliverers of it, and I can't even operate it
Wow.
on the receiving end. Yeah, it's crazy. So
That's good to know.
Same.
Yeah.
Oh,
so-
yeah. People ask me about billing questions all the time. Like, I have no clue. It's a black box.
it's
Wow.
well, it's not our thing really. They want you to think it is so that you can bills really high, but it's not us.
Okay.
Yeah.
By the way,
It's only 50%. Yeah.
We have that.
Jesus. Next off, he's the nicest assassin you could ever meet, Mr. Jackson Bulger. You
Thank
are.
you.
You're total nice boy assassin. You're just like going, hi, how are you? No, everything's fine. You just go for it. Yeah, you're so polite.
Yes. Well, thank you. I try my best.
Your mom's not nice, and I'm not nice either.
I know. Where'd my
Smells
calm
an
demeanor
angel.
come from?
Really nice mailman.
I've never seen the evil side of your mom. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I don't know about
The
that.
meanest
It's-
thing she ever did was after we had a couple of beers on Saturday after our ride, she made us help move the barbecue
barbecue up.
upstairs.
She doesn't like
Oh,
it up
really?
there, by the way.
Brutal.
And what, do we have to move it down at the end of the show?
Yeah.
After the show,
It'll probably blow off.
the best after
yeah.
2 beers.
Yeah, there we go.
You can do anything.
Jackson, what would your presidential declaration be?
I would make the work week 4 days, and then I would include it. This is included. I would lower the cost of goods, so they
Like all
kind of
goods.
all equals out.
You
You know,
know, 4 days, but not still 40 hours, right?
right?
Okay, cool. Just
I could do 410s.
No, you can't.
it's a lot.
My wife
do
does
not
4
like
10s,
it.
and she actually really prefers it.
Ugh,
Yeah,
it
right.
sucks.
You guys know that when I'm in the middle of directing a play, I do like 11s.
Yeah, and that's wild because you don't
And
really
that's-
get what you deserve for that.
That's
I'm just
24
curious,
weeks a year.
When you do that, though, is there a
No,
lot of time it's
27
like
weeks.
set up and you're not with people all the time?
No, most of the time I'm with actual
Okay,
students.
see, no, not doing that.
Yeah.
That's
Never.
still hard work though, especially like doing it by yourself
Sets and
when
lights
people
and-
aren't around.
Oh, I'd
Like, that's
rather
a lot of
be by
extra work.
myself. I could work for 50 to 60 hours. It's
Yeah.
interfacing with humans.
Is that your phone?
Yeah, I'm gonna turn it off right now.
Jesus.
But the reason why I lower the cost of goods is because we're going to make less if you work 30 hours,
Yeah.
whatever, a week. So it all
Okay.
balances out.
Wow.
Plus, I don't want to work 5 days anymore.
So far, all of us would make a good president. Me, I'm 3 days away from being a teacher in summer. I'm Pat Bulger, and my legislation would be a massive plan to upgrade our rail system and create jobs in mass transit.
Nice.
That's a good idea.
We here
Similar
in Spokane.
vibes.
We here in Spokane. Yeah, exactly. Which is freaking me out.
Yeah, 'cause
I'm
we're
about
very
to
similar.
gouge out both of my eyeballs with a fork.
Yeah, you
I
may
mean,
not
his-
like it, but we're very similar.
His ideas are much better thought out.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make cars illegal and tractors.
Both tractors with bike. No, I was like, I've always dreamt of a world where we here in Spokane live about, well, let's up to probably about 300 miles from Seattle.
Yeah.
I would love to be able to hop on a train and get to Seattle in about 2 hours or 3
Hour
hours.
and a
Like
half.
the
Seems
rest of the world can
Yeah,
do. But
yeah.
yeah.
Just be able to
Marymore Velodrome.
Yeah.
I'm going over there every
Friday
week
night
if
racing.
that's the thing.
Yeah, every
Yep.
Friday night you could go and race. You just hop on.
You
a
can
bike
get
on.
drunk on the way back.
Damn right. Exactly.
Uber home from the train
That's
station.
the best idea ever.
Right?
I vote for you.
Thank you.
I give up my seat.
All right. Okay, talk to me. How's your state? What's your state of your cycling life? I know we were at different levels, and I'm not necessarily needing what your training week is like, but how are things in your cycling life right now? For example, Sam, you mentioned earlier, you're
fast.
like, yeah. Heaven forbid you mentioned that, but you also mentioned it's like I'm kind of done.
Yeah.
Is that?
I think mental state is I had this push of like I was all in through RC3 and Sam's Super Week with Ryan.
Yeah.
And then now I'm just kind of like, well, let's just bring it home. Some more local races, Wednesday nights, Thursday night.
Yeah. And that's it.
Well, there's just nothing else really on the horizon. Well, at least it matches up with me. I would love to go to Baker City, but that doesn't work because of a friend's wedding. I would love to go to EPO, but that doesn't work because of a siblings thing. So it's like, yeah.
This is why we don't have races in the summer.
Yeah.
Because of weddings
All of
and
us people
friends.
are putting priorities really where they should be for amateur cycling.
Yep.
It's hard to get numbers because there's always something happening.
Totally, and I do agree with that, but also like those are truly the 2 weekends that it's like non-negotiable. Like those are the things that are like have been set since October
and that's
of
what
last year.
I think Paul's arguing the same thing.
Yeah.
Do you think, Paul, however, that it has anything to do with just the fact that there are so fewer cyclists that it used to be you could have a race and a good portion of people could go to weddings, but you would have enough cyclists to still make your event
It's
a
certainly
success.
part of the equation.
Yeah.
It's not just one thing.
Because, I mean, for example, the 24-hour race, we're constantly dealing with this, well, it's a 3-day weekend. Are you sure you should be doing that on a 3-day weekend? Because people are going on vacations. We still get 600 riders. So it's, by the way, there are a shit ton more mountain bike riders than there are road riders right now.
Yeah.
And that's not a bad thing. That's a great thing. Hopefully we all start buying different bikes.
I think the consistency, like what you're saying, is when you're like it's every year. That is the weekend. Every year. People plan on it. That's the bike race, right? Like you're doing that.
That's a great point.
Well, the point is that like things move. It's like I could base in the past, like Walla Walla was this weekend. These things were, so it's like I could build my race calendar around that.
Yeah.
And like you would agree to this, like when like I'm scheduling with my wife, like, hey, this is what I have on the docket. If it's on there for like, 3 months, maybe even 6 months before, that's set in stone. I'm doing that.
Yeah.
But
Screw
if it's
my
like
friend. Screw the
EPO,
funeral.
just like when did they do that? Like when did the EPO post that stuff?
Very
It
recently.
was recently that they've
I don't
like
know.
finalized the dates. Like, yeah, this is when it's happening, and I'm like, guys, that gives me like 6 weeks. I can't do that.
I'm sure it was before that, and they're going to contact me about
Yeah.
this right now. Yelling,
Probably.
but,
Hopefully.
yeah.
Yeah. But
Well, yelling at me.
Yeah.
Rightfully so.
if only there was a method to get the word out, like some sort of an audio-based announcement process.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah, Jackson, how's your cycling life?
Really good. Yesterday, yeah. I am feeling like at a different level than I've ever really felt before. It's I was talking to Sam about it, how after RC3, like riding those 90 miles and then turning around and doing half a crit the next day.
3/4.
Yeah, a good amount. There were 5 laps to go. It's been like wild, especially going from that last week. I raced Wednesday, raced Thursday, rode Saturday. It's just it's another level. Your body adapts to a different type of fatigue than you've ever had to deal with before, to a point where I'm like, wow, I can conquer anything right now, is what it feels like. And it's a high to ride. I just hope it lasts another 2 weeks.
That's it, though.
What's
I mean, you're anything beyond that.
Yeah, I signed up for Everett.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Paul?
Yeah,
Talk to
I
me,
mean,
Goose.
I feel kind of similar to Jackson. I mean, I've lost like 5 pounds since RC3, that type of thing.
That's
It's just
personal.
because I've been a little more consistent. The problem is being consistent. So,
Yep.
If you're consistent, then that starts coming in. But it's that cramming, miss 5 days, try and get back and recover. It never works out. So, and I mean, I feel better than I have the whole year, but I know I have a lot. I mean, I have a lot I could do better. So, yeah.
David, how are things?
June's always good.
Is it?
Good, yeah. I mean, like, I feel like I'm in the steady swing with racing and not really training much anymore. Like, I'm at a good spot. Wednesday night was awesome for us. Thursday night was awesome for us. And I don't have anything big on the horizon anymore, but I feel like I'm at a state of fitness where I don't have to, like, get off work and be like, I gotta go for a training ride.
Yeah.
It's like I could just wait until the race in 2 days and then get a good hard effort in and maintain what I've got.
It is nice having that.
Suck though. We're ripping right now, and it's over.
Yeah, our Twilight Series, our Road Twilight Series ends on Tuesday.
I would race
Thursday.
that every week through July.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah,
You used
and
to go
maybe
into
even beginning of
August.
August. Yeah.
Yeah.
Used to start in April
Yeah.
and go till August.
Every week.
Yeah.
Road courses.
And that bless the hearts of the people who are putting that on.
Oh, yeah.
That they are even attempting what they're attempting. Last year it was less races. This year it went from like 4 to 6.
Yep.
And so who knows? You know, if they, I hope their numbers are up. I hope they're at least breaking even and things are going well. Renting the venue for people who don't know what's going on. This is a auto race track out west of town here. It's a great place, completely obviously enclosed course. What's the mileage on that course? We're doing the shorter course, but it's still over a mile, isn't it?
Yeah, it has to be. The original course was 2.2 miles,
Yeah.
so it's probably just under 2, I would think.
And it's a great place for us to go out and race on Thursday nights. You know, it's not as necessarily spectator friendly, but it's
The short course is more.
yeah. But I mean, you can't just be walking your dog and go, oh, bike race. You know?
Yeah.
You won't stumble
Something
across
like
it.
that. My state of cycling. I am tired. I'm not gonna lie. The Saturday ride was a disaster. I said before we went on that I think I didn't realize. I confess so much on this show. The wine I was drinking from was out of a box, and
Good
I don't
Lord.
think I knew how much I had. I closed my eyes.
Aren't you
to
at
say
an
that.
age where you should
No.
like box wine shouldn't be a thing unless there is
No,
nice
you get
box
to my
wine.
age and then you drink box wine because your budget. You're on a fixed income.
Jesus.
Now, some of the box wines are actually really good.
Yeah,
out
yeah,
there.
yeah,
They're
yeah,
like
I
award
know.
winners. But the problem is I buy a box. I'm like, oh no, I'm having it in a little glass with stuff like that. And next thing I know,
It's white, isn't it? It's white wine.
yeah, that's why I wine. Yeah, that's why I wine. I can't drink red anymore. It makes me stuffy. It does.
Nobody is. This isn't doing anything for sympathy.
And last week's races were with heavy legs. I'm hoping the upcoming summer break is going to help, reignite my training and my fitness. So if you guys were me, how would you approach resetting and starting over? If you suddenly, as of Friday at 2:00 in the afternoon, had 8-ish weeks in front of you that were somewhat open, what would you guys do? If you were you.
Something that I've noticed a great amount of success with is something so simple, but just consistency. If
Yeah.
you set a day and a time for that exact thing and you put the most you can into that time, you will get a lot out of that. And intervals.
Yeah.
You're starting from not zero, but close to zero.
Jesus.
You're pretty slow.
Oh my god.
Okay, so
Wait until you're off the show.
I know I'm gonna get punched in the face for sure after last weekend too. Or I won't be back. Everybody, it's been nice.
Sam's gone.
It's been fun. But no, seriously, what I would do is I would do your first week is like zone 2 junk miles. Just ride as much as you can. If you could do it every single day, do every single day for like 2.5 hours.
I don't think I need that base though. I need
I'm
to
just
lose
saying,
some kilos.
It would
though.
just.
I want to
yeah,
lose 10 pounds.
It would,
before
it
the
would,
PO.
you don't need that base, but I think that would set you on a good foundation for the rest of the summer, and then you're going to take like 4 or 5 days off. You're not going to do anything. You're just going to rest, focus on recovery. That's not drinking.
Fuck that.
That's recovery.
That's not gonna.
I'm just helping you. I'm
not
saying
gonna
this is the
happen.
best case scenario. Then you jump into intervals and you do those 3 days a week,
Yeah.
and then by July 1st you are
ripping.
I don't think that what you just laid out is possible with 3-dimensional, 4-dimensional time that we live in. You just laid out like an 8-week plan. That's 3 months. That's
No,
3
the
weeks.
first week, next week when he's done, on Monday he's going out for 2.5 hours.
All
On
right.
Tuesday he's going out for 2.5 hours. He's doing it all the way through Sunday. The next Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, maybe even Friday are off.
July 1st ripping.
Intervals.
Well, he'll
Well,
miss the
July
EPO
1st.
by a couple of days. Then.
I will.
Yeah.
Or I could use the EPO. It's just.
Oh, yeah.
The EPO would be
By the way,
intervals.
still, dude, if you're listening, it's a really messed up a race name. I know it's funny. I know it's tongue in cheek, but it's just like
I like it.
I keep saying.
I think it's yeah.
You're
Where
wrong.
What are you
Yeah.
doing this weekend?
This,
EPO.
we're
Yeah.
actually
Yeah.
taking this podcast over, and you're incorrect now.
Yeah.
Fine.
You're wrong.
want the control? You guys can. You guys
No, please help.
can mute me.
No, please help.
I'm muted.
No.
No, shut the trap.
Come
then.
back.
So anyway, guys.
Shut the
Yeah.
Paul, what would you do?
Intervals are, especially at old
Yeah.
age, is very important, and that's something I think you're lacking is high
Yeah.
intensity. You are naturally. I've known you in racing in the '80s since the '80s. You have a great propensity to be able to go forever. You don't need to practice that.
Don't. Tell
So
me
yeah, I know that. That's a different story. So what was it? Tiny meat.
The podcast that I listen to, Tiny Meat Gang.
Yeah, Tiny Meat Gang. So the TMG part
Yeah.
of you, I don't want to know.
Okay,
I don't
yeah.
want to talk about. But I would say, we've got the Thursday night. I think you better show up. We are all going to do the A's. And it's only going to help you. It's only going to help you in speed, and you're just going to, even if you get dropped, you're just going to like whip yourself. You just don't do it. Don't get dropped. Grab that wheel clear.
Sure,
You got to do that.
flagellation.
And that's the best way to do speed work. If you don't have a motor pace, or Sam doing his 3-5 minute whatever, that's what you need. That's what I need.
I don't hate you. You know that, Sam.
I know. It's
I
all.
kind of don't like
You
you.
love me.
I love you. Thank you, mistress. Can I have another? David, I'm not going to ask you what you do because your question tonight has a little bit to do with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what my answer would largely revolve around too.
Hanging up the wheels and calling it a career.
No, not at all. Definitely not. But it's not what you guys
Golf.
do.
Don't say golf. Anything but freaking golf. See, I said frickin'. I can get better.
Good man.
Let's look at some of our headlines from the past week with tonight's news brought to us by our friends at Competitive Cyclist. Hey, use your LBS, but with those times, the things you need to be found quickly, trust the folks at Competitive Cyclist. My copy says folds, not folks. Folds. Autocorrect. Panda Watch. Good news for the FOMs. The FOMs? Is that how you would say it? FOMs? Good news for the women. 2025 Tour de France Femme will run 9 stages this year in what will be the longest edition yet. ASO announced Monday. The expansion to 9 stages marks another step in the evolution of the event that first came to existence as an 8-stage race in 2022, and it replaced La Course by the Tour de France, which was a 1-day event from 2014 to 2021. Paul and I remember Marianne Martin racing a 3-week Tour de France to be the first women's victor of the Tour de France. Also has been on this podcast. Quote, "It is a strong message that we're sending, which shows that the race is growing at the same pace as the evolution of women's cycling. That is working, and we are on the right track," said race director Marianne Rousseau of the bump in 9 stages. So above all, we must not go faster than the evolution of women's cycling. That would be nonsense. Okay, we are already going from 8 to 9 days, and then we will see in a few years. I can assume that we all agree this is really good news. Yes, but however, what are your thoughts on the growth of women's cycling and what is holding it back? It's not a trick question.
What is holding back the WNBA?
Nothing
Viewers.
right now.
Yeah, I
though.
know, but I'm just saying, like now, like we have viewers coming in. It's like this massive influx. I think that it's this year, and I think the last 2 years, we have had a massive. I've been watching a ton of women's racing. It's awesome.
I have too.
But we just didn't have access to it. So there wasn't a big following behind it, right? And it was the same thing for any other women's sports.
Yeah. I'm going to say something about Caitlin Clark here for a second, and the fact that she, through her accomplishments, has created such a drive and excitement for the sport that I find it. I have this whole Olympic selection with Caitlin Clark. I agree with the people on the Olympic selection team. She's a rookie. There are people who are probably more accomplished and deserve that spot more than Caitlin Clark does right now. I'm probably going to get added by saying something like that.
I've seen a lot of people agree with that.
But with women's cycling in the same vein, women's cycling is gaining that notoriety. And what is keeping
It should at
cycling
least be
from a
14
3-week Grand Tour?
It should at least be a 14-day at minimum. Like what's keeping it from a 2-week?
They're not
thing?
fragile desert flowers. Cassia Niewiadoma could blow us all out of the water every day of the week for 365 days a year.
Yeah.
Why? What is holding back? Is it the financial?
Yeah.
Is it the?
I don't think anymore where it's everybody listening to this, everybody at this bar, we all know that physiologically these human beings are not incapable of accomplishing that amount of of strain. We all know that. That's not new. I think it's the financial side of it. Okay. That's what we're really looking at anymore. And honestly, that's what runs the world.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that this aspect of our sport is not worthy of the financial backing. It's just like it needs to continue to go on to achieve that financial backing. I do believe that it does deserve a full 3-week tour, but it's just not at that monetary value yet, which is so terrible.
Yeah. Yeah.
I kind of take a different view.
Okay.
I think in Europe, as progressive as Americans like to think they are, they aren't.
No.
Yeah.
In the Men's Tour de France, all the way up till I think 88 or maybe it was 86, women couldn't even be on any support medical field, and if they snuck in, they'd have to wear a hat and tuck their hair up.
Shelley Verses.
Yeah,
from
she was the
7-Eleven was the
masseuse,
first.
yeah.
Until 88.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that works against them a little bit, and I think too, with that in mind, that's a hard thing to crack.
Yeah.
And I think that we need to just accept every advance and just welcome it and not complain, especially as a bunch of white males. To me, this is an area that it's hard for me to get involved with a discussion.
Yeah.
Because aren't we? Most people think we're the
problem.
problem.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
let's let the powers to be, like the director of the Tour de France Femme, make their decision, and then she can take the heat if it's too short.
She has
that type of thing, because she has a better voice than I do.
Better finger on the pulse of the sports.
Exactly.
Too. Yeah.
And has anybody heard how long these women do the women want to do 3 weeks? Does anybody know that?
Yeah. I think
yes.
Who do you know? Any particular riders?
No.
So that's the thing. We have a tendency, being the devil's advocate, we have a tendency to sometimes they can do it, but do they want to? Do you guys want to ride a 90-mile road race again?
No.
That's what I was about to go there. Yeah. It's like, at a certain point, and the Tour de France men, their stages are getting shorter and shorter, and they're way more exciting.
Yeah.
And if you want people to view, they don't want to watch, 8 hours of people on a flat land for a 10-second sprint. So
it should, if they add more stages, they should be shorter, no matter what.
Yeah.
For the women's stages too, they need to be shorter.
There's an ongoing joke about people are like, hey, Netflix, can you please create a TV series that I can actually enjoy while I'm staring at my phone? I'm like, they already have it. It's bike racing.
Mm-hmm. That's so true. Did anybody watch Tulsa Tough?
Yep.
No, I haven't yet.
I watched Tulsa Tough. It was a great thing to be on your phone for the first 45 minutes, and then once you see the lap count go down, then you're like, oh, now I can pay attention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the fact that the bike races have the graphic in the top left corner that is showing me how many Ks to go, and I just look up and I'm like, yeah, we're good.
I will say, speaking of Tulsa Tough, not to change the subject at all,
but
there was somebody who proposed to their soon-to-be wife in the Cat 4s race. really, really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Really weird.
I
It was on
missed that.
Crybaby Hill, and it was weird as hell.
Like
Like, she didn't.
like a rider or
Yeah, a rider in the Cat 4s group. I hope.
what do you take a free lap or
I
something?
hope she said yes.
No,
Yeah.
Was
she
it
did
the
say
end
yes.
of the race?
It was at before the race. It was super weird.
dude.
I hope happiness and prosperity for your love and
Hey babe,
life.
I know it's
However,
about me right now, and so I'm gonna make up more about me.
Well, what my wife and I were looking at it, saying we were both like, now he's just got to go race. Like he can't celebrate it with his soon-to-be wife. He's got to just be like, all right, bye, honey.
She said yes. I'm gonna go kick
Yeah.
some ass.
you know what
now.
that is?
and then he
Gets
got dropped.
and- yeah, I was gonna say, then he got dropped. Yeah. And then she goes,
I'll take the winner.
never mind.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I did.
Drops the ring in the gutter. I only marry winners.
Yeah. I did have my other bike friend from the past texting me this last weekend saying that.
Oh shit! Is this person gonna come over and suddenly I need a jersey too?
Yeah. Yeah.
You get a jersey.
You get a jersey. You're
Hey,
on
guys,
the
we got a new
team. But he
teammate.
was like, so I'm thinking Tulsa Tough next year. And I'm like,
Yes.
Oh,
I could be convinced.
100%. That'd be sweet.
Who's this?
Devin.
Shit, I have to go.
Yeah. But we're bringing back the whole gang.
that's this weekend next year. This past weekend.
This last weekend, yeah.
Yeah.
Shit.
What?
At school.
I'm a school teacher.
Well, you should
So
just
am I.
not.
Don't you get vacation?
Yeah, but not on finals week.
What? Oh.
Seems like a great time. You don't have
Don't
to teach
you
them
teach
anything.
like theater or
Oh,
something?
you are.
I know.
I am
That was too far. That was too far. That was too far. I accept that.
Dive across the
Whoa.
bar.
I know the line now.
Cut to commercial. Cut to commercial.
And Sam will no longer be joining us. I guess.
Just this bar screen.
Just a missing person here.
My God.
I'm mopping up blood stains. Need more hydrogen peroxide.
It's just a shit ton of lime. Oh my God! Next story. So you're telling me there's a hope. This past week's Dauphiné brought us some definitive hopes, but plenty of questions, especially surrounding Visma Lease Bikes USA's hope Matteo Jorgensen, finishing scant 8 seconds behind Primož Roglic for the overall victory. What was that hand for?
Who has been saying his name?
Will you pick anybody with
has been saying his
stars
name
and
for the
bars
last
next to
multiple
the,
years?
Oh my God. You cannot claim
Thank you.
ownership of that. What are your thoughts on Matteo's ride and his potential being the guy to favor on the Tour? By the way, in other horrible VLAB news, Kruijswijk and Dylan van Baarle, Stefan Kruijswijk suffered a fractured hip. Dylan van Baarle broke his collarbone, meaning both support riders unable. So, I mean, what are they going to be? One of us is going to get a call up here shortly. Jackson's going to get a call like, oh, I guess I'm ready for Visma Lease Bike now.
Yep.
Should I do that?
So your thoughts? Oh, and by the way, Sepp Kuss registered DNS on stage 8.
He just got a little cold.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Okay. But what do we think about Plan B for Visma Lease Bike?
I would take him.
Do we throw? Oh, I don't think there's any question that
I'm just
they're
saying that,
taking it.
I think that, Jonas is still in the playbook, but it's you bring both those guys with Sepp and whoever else is still alive at that point because they all keep hitting the pavement.
Are there any? Should we even begin to set expectations? No. We should just be happy with whatever occurs.
When you asked that question, my first thought was wah wah. Because
Yeah.
it's realistically
That's huge.
we're thinking about who they're competing against. Roglic he was really good. It's good to see a competitive Roglic back in different colors. I'm happy to see that. But we really got to think who they're competing against, and it's not just Primož.
I'm not talking about first place.
No, I know, but I'm talking about the fact that I don't think we should really hold any sort of hopes for this Visma Lease Bike team coming into the season for Le Tour, because we have some competitors that are by and large Tade.
Yeah, well,
is
no,
going to-
I'm saying we're taking him out of the equation
I mean,
because it's
I mean,
unless disaster strikes.
I would also say that Ineos is bringing a pretty, not winning field, but stack the top 10 field.
Carlos Rodriguez, Egan Bernal, Tom
Geraint
Pidcock.
Thomas.
Geraint
Thomas
Garrett's
is
not going to
going.
ride.
Yes,
Yeah, he is.
What?
Yes.
As a support role.
Yeah.
So they are bringing a
They're
squad
bringing
that
a
is
squad.
meant to win.
Wow. We all know.
We all know who's going to win.
The likely chance of what's going to happen.
Yes.
Barring disaster.
Well, that's if he recovers. He only had 5 weeks.
That's true.
So
I heard an interesting theory about him, though, about how everybody was saying that this was almost like a version of Tade that we didn't see in any sort of Grand Tour. How he kind of reeled it back a little bit. Yeah. And then you see him kind of by the end, he wasn't really attacking. He was just following and still winning stages, for God's sake. And then he's going to have that time off. And it was almost like a training block for him. That this was probably a pretty low-level training block for him.
Did anybody else hear another podcast that happens out there that is...
Wait, there are other ones?
There are other ones. They're not as good.
not
as
as
this
old.
one.
Not as old.
Not
as
as
yours.
old and not
No.
as good,
No.
but
That's not saying
Geraint
much.
does talk about bikes with...
his
other,
show's
yeah,
great.
okay,
Yeah,
it's great.
yeah.
Anyway, he had Poggi on.
Yeah.
And they did talk about this, and
Gee.
Poggi was saying, yep. And he was saying, hey, I am very tired, but I also race very well in May. So that was kind of just a May for me. He's like, I don't feel any more tired than I do in any typical May. So I'm like, oh, that dude's friggin' weapon.
He wants this back so bad.
Yeah.
2 years. He hasn't had it.
That's, yeah.
Yeah. So...
Do you think, and I think I've mentioned this before, will there be an asterisk in Tade's mind if Jonas is not there at 100%?
No.
He'll still take him seriously.
Yeah.
But even if Jonas isn't at 100%, no.
Neither was Tade last year.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think of the year that Bobby Julich got third in the Tour de France. And
but that was drugs.
That was the year that most of the
Festina
peloton
affair.
was gone.
Yeah.
And I wonder if Bobby sits back at night and goes, I podiumed the Tour de France. Cha-ching, asterisk. Now, in my head, I'd be going well, the devil again. That's because nobody else was there, you pussy.
God, I'd just be like,
But I got third in the Tour
You
de
can't
France.
control who shows up or
Festina
who
got kicked
crashes.
out.
My opinion on any of this races, whether it's local or anything, you can't control who's there, the conditions or anything. All you can control is your effort, and you should be proud of that. And if it's third place because half the peloton was busted for drugs, you're the last one standing. The others were wounded. I mean, it's like wartime.
So Vincenzo Nibali's not sitting back going, I won. The only year I won was because Chris Froome crashed.
No, I wouldn't.
No.
Because he was hot on his heels.
Yeah,
and it is bike racing, especially Grand Tours, is all about attrition. It's staying upright. It's the full battle. And decisions to make a left turn and overlap a wheel, that's your decision. That's just how this bike racing is.
Yeah. All right. Okay, fine. You guys are smarter than me. Which is a given. Let's take us to tonight's topic, which is a new feature, which we hope to include more often. This night's topic is listener questions grab bag. So I have a bunch of questions.
You got a bumper for that?
I could probably find something. But the only one I have. By the way,
are you playing Zelda?
this summer I'm going to work on a lot more bumpers and teasers and intros, and we're going to change the theme song.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we're going to change the theme song.
Not gonna lie, this slaps.
Hey, boys and girls, it's time for listener question grab bag night. Boy, I sound like Pee Wee Herman right there. I'm sure you guys don't know who that is. There's a man formerly known as Paul Rubens.
Hey, didn't he get
He's
arrested
dead.
for?
Yeah.
He got arrested for masturbating in a pornography theater.
Yeah.
Sorry.
First time that probably ever happened to.
Yeah, right? Exactly. So without further ado, I present to the panel with some of the questions posed by our listeners via email at patrick@packfiller.com. Yes, I just gave my personal email to a lot of people. Thank you, Paul. Tonight's question follow under the category of well-intended asshole. I intentionally made eye contact with Sam when I was grab bagging these questions. So our first question is, how can you help a rider that is doing things improperly in a pack without pissing them off or be labeled a mansplainer. Road cyclists tend to run into this issue quite often. You have a lot of dudes in the field who want or more than willing to share their information and their knowledge base with you. In the heat of a bike race, I don't know, for example, RC3, I'm riding a race and there's a guy in our race with not only I understand the need for visors on mountain bike helmets. I'm lying. I don't understand the need for visors on mountain bike helmets. I think they look stupid.
The sun doesn't
and
even get in your eyes.
Even downhillers should take them off. But he had that, and it was way up. It was like a shark fin on top of his head, a sideways shark fin. And he also had mountain bike shoes on, which is fine. You ride what you got, ride what you brung, because if I say something opposite, I'm going to get attacked. But he also had headphones on. And
in the race,
and I'm sure he didn't get caught by the USAC officials and stuff like that. But how do you go up to somebody who's clearly new, who doesn't understand what they're doing, who are doing something wrong, who are repeatedly, this kid wasn't doing it, but I remember in the Montana race I saw people repeatedly breaking the centerline violation with cars coming the other way. How do you approach somebody and speak about those things without sounding like an absolute dickhead? Anybody want to grab this question? Sam, obviously, you just call him a bitch.
Well, okay, actually, I did. In all seriousness, have a couple of moments that I did fix that. But I'm going to just say this: how I would approach it,
yeah,
is I would just tell them, like in my scenario, I'm like, hey, in the 1-2 fields, we do it like this. This is how
that sounds douchey.
It is, but it's the reality.
That
is
defensive.
The top tier.
Okay.
And that is, you don't see this shit in the top tier, right? So it's like one of those things like pointing at wheels. I'm like, hey, you don't need to do that.
Okay, that
Your
was one of my
handlebars in
later
front of
questions. So yeah, about the pointing at wheels thing.
You're going to move in, right? Like somebody freaked out and started yelling in the crit, and I looked back and I'm like, it's not a problem. You don't need to be stressed right now. We're moving around. It's okay in a 1-2. We bump up against each other. It's all right. How you would handle this situation is,
fuck you! You're a gay! How do I mute Sam's mic so fast?
You blew all of our headphones off. Sorry, everyone.
What?
and that
How I would do that?
that is how you are heard across everywhere.
No, wait. You suddenly turn that to pick on me?
Yes. Yeah,
You
I have to
dick.
continue to do that.
You tiny. What is it?
A TMG.
Yeah, you
Tiny
Wow.
tiny meat having.
Now, okay, but I'm not asking
Am I
for
wrong?
myself.
Yeah, okay, yeah, sorry. I gave an opinion on how you would treat that.
No, I've been getting a lot better at that.
You're okay. Sorry.
Jackson, don't read your remembrance of me. I will get to this one. I will get to this one later. I will get to that topic later. But I want to ask, how do you explain to somebody that they're doing something wrong in the field without? Does anybody have any other input that isn't debilitatingly mean to Pat?
I think that you let him figure it out.
Yeah,
I had to figure it out.
you let somebody else comment, or
No.
okay,
You don't. They will learn.
even if
they
they're
really-
causing potential harm to the field.
Well, a visor on the top of their head
Is not.
No, I
We're
know.
talking-
I was just those. No, seriously, those just popped into my head. I would never explain to somebody about their helmet. I would never explain to somebody about their shoe selection. I might say, "Hey, man, you got to turn those off. We can't, because you got to be able to hear us or something like that."
Right.
I will.
Yeah. The headphones.
I
But-
will say though that
Sorry.
our sport. No, you're fine. Our sport has a process in which you have to start at a certain point, and the further you work, or the more work you put into it, the more you have to learn about it, right? So if you start in a 4s, 5s field, you're going to probably ride a certain way, be a certain way in that field. Once you get up to that 2s, 3s field, that's when it starts to change. You really start to learn about it and understand that, hey, I can't continue to perform in this specific way, or else it's going to have an effect on my own performance.
Yeah.
So I think that I know we all want to say something so bad, but in my opinion, it's just like, let them learn.
Nice guy assassin right there.
Well, because
And then
there's no better learning tool than looking yourself in the mirror and going, why did that go wrong?
And then you become a master, and they put you back in those fields, by the way.
Well, that is not.
That's not meant as a complaint. That is a
problem.
That is a truth.
Not your monkeys, not your circus.
There is no way I was going to bash this kid. There was no way I was going to bash that kid in the race because this kid was struggling. He was busting his ass to be there, and he was strong. And that kid is someday going to be, hopefully, the next, the next, Jackson Bulger or something like that. And there's no way I'm going to go up to him and belittle him.
I mean,
I think
over
there's-
aesthetics now.
Yeah.
Well, I think.
Oh, fuck the aesthetics.
In order to
I don't give a shit about that. No, I don't give a shit.
Whatever it is, I think the best way, especially if you see a beginner, you have to befriend them. First of all, you got to point it, recognize the person, and just start off. And as soon as you kind of get a rapport, say, "Hey, dude, I don't know if you know, but even like the headphone thing, that's against the rules. You probably didn't know.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know. Yeah, no problem. But boy, don't get caught. I mean, you got to do it slow, and you have to befriend. Or even if you didn't have a chance to talk to him at the end of the race, go up and say, "Hey, was this your first race?" Just kind of curious. Hey, you did a good job. Blah blah blah. Just to let you know, you cut me off, and that's something you got to learn. But no problem, no foul, no harm. That's
the
the
center
best way
line violation thing, for example, in Montana, I saw it, people are attacking over the center line, and there's a truck coming, and it's stuff like that, and I'm going, hey, and then I remember somebody in front of me said, he doesn't know, and I'm like, well, if you're their teammate, it's now on you to go up and let this person know that not only they're breaking the rules of the race, but they're also putting the entire race in danger.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, I guess it's easier if you know.
Probably
the
why the race isn't happening this year.
Yeah,
but
if
safety's a thing,
yeah, it might be.
Yeah.
If safety's a thing, I mean, you have to call that type of stuff out.
Yeah. All right.
Grab
So,
him by
David,
the
you
jersey
got
pocket and yank him in.
yeah.
I just think you have to separate things that are a danger to, like, if somebody's going to violate the center line and get smashed by a truck, I'm probably less likely to say anything than if they're going to crash the whole pack out. Like, and that's not because I don't care about that person, but like, it's a safe, like, if they're going to do dumb stuff on their own, you can tell them after the fact, but like, they're doing the dumb thing.
Terrible.
One less insurance claim to deal with,
sure,
right? Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Darwinism.
But like, exactly like Paul said, we had a kid in the RC3. I told him, I kind of gave him some ideas on how to work better with our rotation. I talked to him afterwards. He was super thankful. I like befriended him. He picked it up immediately. It was awesome. Like, and I didn't say, hey, you dumbass, you're not rotating right through our pole, but
Or you didn't say, why are you dicking with me?
yeah, I just gave him, I was like, hey, what's your name, yada, yada, and I was like, hey, can you just do this while we rotate? And he fit right in, and it worked out, and he was like a great asset for the rest of the race because he was super strong. He just didn't know how to do rotating pace.
And he was in the threes?
Yeah, he was killer. No, it was Teddy, dude.
Hastings.
Teddy, he was like 18. No. It was Teddy. He was like 18 years old. This kid was a freaking animal, but he had no idea how to do a rotating pace.
Yeah.
And I think like afterwards, he was super grateful and like,
cool.
Yeah,
so.
that's cool.
Next question: how do you handle the moments out on a ride where a motorist blatantly buzzes you by cutting far too close? Or even when they roll coal or something like that. What is your method of dealing with those? How do you be a well-intended asshole? Are you going to do something, or are you going to just let it go?
I think we live in a day and age now where we as cyclists are in a vulnerable state. We need to let that go. It sounds terrible, but we don't know what's in that car. We don't know what type of person's in that car. We don't know what type of accessories are in that car. We let them go.
You can just say guns. Bazookas.
But like they can come out and they can hold swing a pipe at you. You know what I mean? Like we don't know.
We had somebody up here with one of those steering wheel locks, those club things, swinging it right.
Yeah, and I know that
I know
that all of us want to make it home safe that day, and so I think we have to sometimes put our pride and our ego aside,
De-escalate,
and just be like, this is not worth a finger.
I think a lot of people do that, and they're looking in the mirror for your reaction. When you don't react, you've actually won.
Yeah.
If you flip them off or scream at them or throw a hand up in the air, that's what they want.
Waving doesn't?
No.
Not even.
That's kind of antagonistic. I used to do it all the time.
So I got to stop doing that too?
I'd look like,
Oh, great.
Yeah, I think...
David, not to bring it up, but
Yeah.
you went
David's
through
over here
a
with
moment
PTSD.
with one of these guys.
Yeah, and it's hard now because I used to carry the mentality of like, oh well, they're just trying to be a dick, but like they can't ruin my day, and like I don't think they truly want to hurt me. They're just being a dick, like they're rolling coal because they think it's funny and they like buzz you because they just want to be a dick, but they don't actually want to hurt you. And by and large, that's probably still true. But regardless of whether they want to hurt you, they don't want to hurt you, there's nothing you can do. Because if they want to hurt you, it's not going to matter. You're going to be dead.
Yeah.
And if they don't want to hurt you and they just want to like be a dick, they're looking for trouble. They're looking for a reaction. And I kind of have to agree with Jackson that like if you want to get worked up about it and flip them off and let it ruin your ride, go for it. You're not going to benefit anybody. Like you're not going to benefit yourself. You're not going to benefit the sport, the community. You're just antagonizing and creating this dynamic we have between motorists and cyclists in the States, at least. Mm-hmm. And so I do think the best thing you can do is just try to not let it affect your ride. And then you can focus on bigger picture things like bike lanes and like cycling awareness. Mm-hmm. We should get people in driver's ed to sit on a bike while a car buzzes them, like they do in other countries. Mm-hmm. But you're not going to fix anything in the moment with that person. So
I'm going to end it with that one. This next one is personal.
Nice darting at Sam.
What is the procedure for helping other riders with things like pushes, or even stopping or turning back on a ride without seeming to be condescending? How do you? And this didn't just happen this weekend, but what is the procedure? Is it a you need to push, or do you just grab somebody and push, or is it just depend on the person? A ride. And just stopping or turning back. For example, I know this guy who's seen somebody sitting on a bench at the top of a hill when that person came to the top of a hill, which was a total dick move and made the other person laugh.
Why do you ride
But that
with him?
That other person was very thick-skinned and drinks a lot because of it.
Why do you ride
You
with
deserve
him?
better than me.
No, but for those, I actually kind of pulled what Jackson had dealt with, and I grabbed your hand. I'm like, don't effing push me, because I hate it. I don't want to be that person that gets pushed. But do you?
Oh, that was me purely messing with you. But he has pushed me in a race.
Yeah.
I've pushed you. You've pushed me. Did anybody notice it at RC3 after one of my attacks? One of the guys I went with pushed me.
Yeah.
Really?
And I very much appreciated it. I was blowing up a hill. He came up behind me and he pushed me on. And I was like,
That's all you
I was like, thank fucking God. Because I had put in a huge dig, and this guy, like, I think he did it out of respect. He's just like, yeah, I saw that. Like, I'll push you back on. And I recovered, and I went again after that.
Sam's pushed me up a climb.
didn't learn your
last
lesson.
yeah.
I didn't learn.
Last year we were going to the top of a gravel climb, and Sam pushed me, and it kept me with the group.
We did the crit that we stayed away the entire race. Sam, at one point I was blowing up. Sam pushed me. I think the officials didn't like that one.
No, they didn't like that one.
But either way, like you can,
I
you
got
can benefit.
So
each other.
I've got the problem. Sam's the one who's better than everybody. Okay.
Well, he does it to spite you. So
I did it in a malicious attempt.
Yeah.
And because I wanted to touch your butt.
It's the only thing on my
Really?
body you could bounce a
That
quarter
one?
off of.
I mean, that's why
It's like hairy like an ape.
that's why I pushed my wife. Yeah.
I mean, is like or is
You
all
can do it, babe. Up
it's
this
all
hill.
like I thought it was like speed dimples on it, but it was just curly hairs.
Yeah,
that was in
underneath
the
it, yeah.
form of the.
I can attest that it's true.
I don't. But anyway, on a serious note, I think on group rides, I think we've got, and I like group rides the way we kind of do it. Not everybody has a bad day, and if somebody gets left behind, whether it's on a hill or something, we don't stop and wait.
Mm-hmm.
The guys up ahead, once they filled their oats a little bit, this is getting they glass pedal a little bit, and the other guys, kind of regroup and not just like, well, they're waiting for us, but put in the effort and try and get back on.
Yep,
that makes a good group ride.
Mm-hmm.
I hate waiting at the top of the hill for the last person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just don't. I'm not into that. I'd soon just move on. and just, you can talk, recover with everybody.
Soft pedal.
Soft
Yeah,
pedal.
yeah.
I was just doing my intervals. Like, I mean, truly, I was just, and that was like the last thing. I
And
looked
weight
back,
training because you were pushing him?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
No, like, but when we did our last effort, like, I pulled off and I looked
Jackson
back and I'm like, oh, it's just
assassinated.
us. And I was like, let's just finish this. Like, keep going.
Yeah.
And then we stopped and we're like, all right, now let's just recovery spin and we'll keep going.
Oh, no.
It's just the benefit of like a group ride to me, I think. Like what you said.
Yeah.
Everybody can do their own thing. That's what's cool about our group is we have 4, to 6 people, and it's like
I've always assumed that if I get punched, when I get punched on a climb, that I've got to ride tempo over the top until I'm back on.
Mm-hmm.
I'll push you.
No, I don't like being pushed.
I'm gonna
I don't
push
want to
you.
be pushed.
Well, I don't see anything wrong with, like, when people have dropped back to help bring me on. But
Bring
they
it
don't,
on. Yeah.
and then you work together
Tempo.
trying to get back
Yeah,
on.
yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay, this next question is 100% personal. Let's say you were cut off in a race. And you almost crashed.
Do you email yourself?
No, this one, the last one actually was not. It was, but I made it personal because it was actually perfectly timed. It was talking about the no drop rides and stuff like that, and how we feel about no drop rides. But this one is personal. Let's say you were cut off in a race and you almost crashed. How do you handle the immediate burst of adrenaline? And I don't know. Let's say you blow your stack and spew profanity that can be heard in another county. How do you behave after? Do you owe someone an apology, or was your rage just something that occurred due to the circumstances? So, in other words, have you ever lost your shit in a race? Am I the only one who's ever lost their shit in a race?
Honestly, maybe yes.
Really?
I don't know.
None of you have ever lost your shit in a race.
I mean, I talked about it last time, the wall crit, but
Yeah. So if it's not my fault and I lost my shit, do I owe somebody an apology? I think I owe somebody an apology for my profanity.
what I was yelling earlier was about as loud as you were probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I understand that. And I didn't understand it at the time because it was pure it was unfiltered rage. It was anger. It was I was scared. It scared the shit out of me, and it made me vocal.
I think this actually ties in really well to your first question, which is, like what you do in these scenarios with less experienced riders.
Yeah.
Because again, this actually ties into all of them. I don't think nobody's trying to hurt anybody out there. We're all just trying to have a good race.
Yeah.
Your reaction was justified, but also probably a little bit too far. When you think about how we just don't want to treat people horribly in general.
Yeah.
Especially when they don't have bad intentions. And so in the moment, it's actually probably not a bad thing because you probably scared some sense into that person. And then it's a perfect opportunity to circle back at the end and be like, I'm not proud of how I reacted if that's how you feel, or I'm sorry I yelled, whatever you feel. If you are sorry, and maybe you're not. And then you can say, but hey, this was like really horrible for X, Y, and Z, and maybe if we did this next time, we could all have a safe and fun race.
The funny thing is I wasn't yelling at the offender.
No.
And I don't want to name any names because that's not cool. That's not classy. That's not. And this person who was the instigator of this, as told to many of my teammates, felt horrible about it. And I appreciate that. I totally appreciate that, and I respect this person 100% because this person is doing a lot for bike racing, and this person is just out there to have a good time and help people become better bike racers. So I want to say that. I want that on the record. That being said, it freaked me out. It scared the shit out of me. And so my inner asshole was swollen.
I don't even think
puckered like a
trying to make it funny.
volcano.
Yeah, Jackson's swirling back on his chair. So it means I should either shut the fuck up.
No.
Or
I'm listening. And if I could speak on to how, I personally take situations like this.
Yeah.
I'm always somebody who first and foremost will call themselves cool, calm, and collected whenever it comes to any situation. Shit happens at bike racing. I got overlapped last year and I went down hard. David, your wife was one of the few first responders there to the situation, and I ended up with a mild concussion and some done bars, and the person who thought they did it came up to me and responded, and I said, shit happens. Yep. Nobody means to do anything. And it's bike racing. I know that when I go out there, people are gonna move, and they're not gonna necessarily be knowing that I'm there. So I get on with it, and I just say, you know, now that we all saw that, it won't happen again.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's my feel on it.
I think the somewhat cool thing about racing in a community and having these events also is that they actually you do get to know people, and that's like one of the cool things about our community is that we do know a lot about all of our fellow racers. And what you're saying, like, hey, I wasn't actually mad at you, I was just freaked the F out.
Yeah,
I soiled my chamois.
Yeah,
like,
I was. I think my entire muscle mass increased by 3 times because I just became this swole Arnold Schwarzenegger. What the fuck? I'm gonna get to the chopper.
Well, that's an opportunity to connect with that
Scared the
person.
shit out of
I
me.
mean,
Yeah.
yeah. So and you know, then
And-
he'll probably never do it to you again. He'll be watching for you, like he'll never do it to anybody again. So
Yes, because nobody likes to get swore at.
Yeah.
I didn't know I was that loud. I seriously didn't.
Well, we heard you from downtown. Like we were wondering what was going on.
Yeah, I heard some.
I had to go home. I
disturbance
missed
up
it
there.
all, but my dog barked
Yeah.
during that time.
There was a great disturbance
That's
in the
4.5
forest.
Yeah.
miles away.
Paul,
That was what did it to your dog. Your
Yeah.
dog knew it was going to happen.
Yeah.
Paul was like, "That's crazy. The people upstairs are swearing so bad now that I'm home."
Yeah. You see, I don't hear people from outside. Those crazies are going nuts. Anyway.
The cage of my garage is rattling.
Cut to the segments for tonight. First segment tonight is Jackson's style points.
Yeah.
I hate being a dick.
You're really good at it, though.
I know I didn't want.
Well, no, that was a kind of backhanded compliment. I was just saying, yeah.
No, I understand it.
Yeah.
It is my superpower.
Anyways, tonight, I wanted to talk about something that has been on my mind lately. Is a category of attire, I guess you could call it, called wearables.
Yeah.
Meaning the things that he wears on his wrist, the things that I wear on my wrist, the things that a lot of different athletes wear on their wrists, their fingers. I mean, I would consider it from Whoop, the Oura Ring, Apple Watches, all those type of things. And I'm so happy that we have people in the medical area as well, because I recently watched something from another podcast called the Waveform Podcast, and they talk about a lot of just like tech things. It's associated with a YouTuber called MKBHD. He does a lot of like tech reviews. And it was a doctor on there, and he was talking about how a lot of these wearables give people information for purely entertainment. In the terms of how he had, I'll give this example. He had a patient who had a fast heart rate, and in that he was like, the patient himself could feel it. He knew how to calm it down and everything. And then he said, I'm going to get an Apple Watch. And his healthcare provider said, you don't need it. You know what to do. He got it anyways.
Yeah.
And then he saw these metrics come back to him from his phone, and it actually made him so anxious, it got worse. And so this then moves me on to a change that I recently made. So I had an Apple Watch for the longest time. I had it from 2020 until last week. And I switched to this is going to sound like an ad, but the Wahoo Rival, just because I like how it evolves into an ecosystem, meaning that it talks to all my different Wahoo devices without me having to really get into my phone or get into the products themselves. And it actually tells me quite a bit less data than it did before. But I realized after having so many of these wearables for so long, I used to have a Whoop, as I mentioned, an Apple Watch, that I realize now that I don't need those things. I don't know my resting heart rate anymore because I don't need to anymore. Because I know that I sit within the mid 50s most of the time. And I just think it's so interesting as somebody who talks so heavily about what we wear, to wear something every day, and it almost kind of makes you anxious, which is what I always try to get away from. I mean, I love the watch. It's easy to wear. It's pretty. I think it looks fine, and it, like I said, it talks to the things. Sam, you had a question.
Are you connected to your phone at all in that? Like, do you get texts and all that?
Yeah, and that was a big priority for
Yeah.
me. I wanted to be able to pretty much have this on wrist so I wouldn't have to consistently bring out my phone, look at the text, things like that. That's what I like, because I like to stay connected to the people around me. I mean, realistically, I'm not the type of person consistently getting texts from a million different people. It's the people sitting around here, the people in this house, and my wife. Those are the people who really communicate with me on daily. And so it brings me, what are your opinions on these wearables? Because I know that we are going to have such a differing array of opinions here. I mean, you guys can cover Whoop, the Oura Ring, which are essentially the exact same thing, and then watches all together.
It's so funny because I know that, for example, Paul, he doesn't even have a watch on right now, and you ride.
I can't see it.
You ride with your bike computer in your pocket, and you just now got power, and you would occasionally during the ride this weekend take out his computer out of his back pocket and going, guys, I'm doing 280 watts.
Not
and then
even
you put it back
130.
Yeah.
The dude's so arrow.
It was just
It's funny. He's
information and
well, that's part of my segment. I didn't realize he was going to cover this, but that was also
Well,
one of my
let's
segments.
just.
Let's finish with
Yeah,
this.
I want to hear the
Let's
answers.
talk
I want to hear
about
the answers.
Well, Mike, it's obvious.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have any of that.
yeah.
Anyway, everybody
So
else.
yeah, but you don't find any of that data.
Well, we'll save that for my segment.
Oh, okay.
But the question at hand
Yeah, I want to hear
was-
what Sam and David have to say, because
Okay,
they don't.
Okay.
I don't have them. I've never had any sort of smartwatch, wearable, anything of the sort. I thought they'd be cool at times, but I think especially in my field, you learn you really value not doing or ordering things or running a test that you have nothing to do about.
Mm-hmm.
So like why would I want data that I can't change, for example? And so why would you want to know your resting heart rate? You can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
Why would you want to know when your heart rate is high or when, your TS, whatever these scores are that they give you can't do anything about it. And so it's not useful information for anything other than, I really like that entertainment perspective. You're just looking at these things, trying to figure out things about yourself, but you don't have a data-driven way to do anything about it. You can't change anything. So why bother? It's just taking up stress and space in your brain that you can't implement.
But you can, because many of these apps, the Wahoo and things like that. I mean the Whoop. Sorry, I get my random words with too many vowels in them. The Whoop, you can. If you stay up to date, you log in entries indicating how many drinks did you have? When did you go to bed? When did you wake up? Did you have coffee? Did you have stress? Did you have sex? Did you masturbate? Did you, all these types of things. And you add this into your training log, and it starts to formulate how your recovery is based upon your activities. So, yes, you probably should know that, I don't know, drinking a half a box of wine might slow you down on Saturday.
Maybe. Yeah.
But
a wee bit.
But sometimes the data can show you that, just like any,
My counter to that, though, is that there's no diet for everybody. There's no training plan for everybody. These algorithms cannot predict what is best for everybody. And so you can put in all the data you want. They're not verified in trials. There's no verification of the information that they're giving you. And so while it may help you be more cognizant of the things you already know, that you shouldn't drink half a box of wine.
I didn't really drink a half box.
Well, whatever it is, that you need more than 4 hours.
I like to,
because these things will tell you you're sleeping. They'll tell you you're sleeping 4 hours a night. Well, guess what? We all know that's bad. So if that's what you need to get yourself back on track, great. But at the same time, you can do it. I think we all know how to live a healthy life, and we kind of depend on these things to tell us how to do it now. I just personally don't find any value in having something telling me things that I can't necessarily do anything about, and then things that I already know. I know I shouldn't be drinking.
The last person to talk.
Yeah. What are you gonna say?
I should try this more often.
It's wild,
yeah,
right?
you should.
It's wild.
You ever thought about just thinking before you speak?
Anyway,
Come to my side of it all.
Anyway, next topic.
No, but Yeah, we could skip to the next. But I will say that I'm very in between you guys because you are like, there is no reason to do anything. Like, throw me back to the Stone Ages. And you're like, kind of, you like data, but really, yeah, you avoid it.
What are you going to do with it?
I mean, I have a G-Shock.
Yeah.
This has nothing, right? Besides time, because once again, being a therapist, like trying to stay on the hour, all that stuff. So
The
like,
irony is that you're always late.
I'm always late.
Yeah, that's what's
yeah.
ironic.
What time did I show up today?
Set that thing 10 minutes early.
15 minutes late. Anyway, so
Set that thing slow.
So I am a believer in having data. I think we can do some stuff with data, like if we are not in tune with our bodies. If I'm really tired, I'm like, man, I need a day off. Because I know, because I trained without any of this data for years, right?
Absolutely.
Like, because I'm more from, honestly, the tail end of your guys' era in the sense of, like, I had a cat eye for years. So, like, that's where I'm at. But I do think that, like, we can have some very useful stuff. If people aren't in tune with that, you can say, like, oh, I need to learn more. And so you see, like, oh, yeah, my heart rate looks like I'm still a little bit fatigued. I should take a day off. So there's some good, useful stuff that you can use. But overall, yeah, I avoid it because it adds anxiety. My wife, she has, like high blood pressure because she freaks out about it. Like you can see her blood pressure rising. She's like, I'm going to go into the doctor and I'm going to have high blood pressure and they're going to tell me that I have to do all that. It's like, you're fine.
Every time she checks it gets higher.
Gosh, it's like you could just we're doing a blood test and I throw it on her. It's fine. She's like, I'm going to do a blood test later on. Skyrockets. Right. And so it's just one of those things that I think the data, it's somewhere in between. It's a healthy thing. You should know some of your stuff, but also take it with a grain of salt.
Your wife and my wife need to start a fucking book club.
I know. You really should hang out.
My wife makes up new forms of cancer.
Yeah.
I think I have elbow cancer.
Yeah.
It's a real thing.
All right, hon.
Don't you dare!
It's not.
It's not.
It might be. I don't know.
Paul gets a second segment tonight. We're going in reverse tonight because you guys always capitalize the time, so we might bump you assholes. Changing times with the one and only Paul Main.
It's just going to be a smear of what's going on in the talk. What, as you mentioned, Pat.
Like a good bagel schmear?
Schmear.
All right.
Yeah, what?
Sounds
No,
fun.
I like a good
Put some
schmear on the
nice
bagel.
lox on top of that.
No locks. No locks.
Oh, you got to put the lox on, and the deli does it right when the mutton's nice and lean. So perky. I love that.
That's not what I said.
He said to blame.
To blame, which we all know.
Now he owes you money.
Yeah.
Nobody knows the references.
No.
Yes, I
No
know.
idea.
Okay.
Good man.
I do.
First
Best
person to
movie
email
ever
us.
made.
First person to email us with the reference gets something from Packfiller. I will
It's
do
a
that.
family film.
Yep. Anyway.
So I was sitting there thinking because our teammate Dan had a set of 11-speed rim brake wheels that he said, "Hey, I need to get rid of these." He gave me a really, really screaming deal on these, and they're tubular, right up my alley.
Nice.
And so we rode it on Saturday. So
That kind of a deal.
yeah, and I've had power meters before in the past, and it's like I don't know. I don't know what to do with it. This is back when I had eyesight and I could see. But going back in my history, I used to have the first computer that came out was big time was the Avocet 20. Oh, no one knows what happened to the 10. It never made it to market. No. The 20 started it all. You had speed, you had distance, total distance, and then time.
Yep.
Yeah, elapsed time.
Yeah.
So, and you had to stop it.
It couldn't stop.
No.
Yeah, exactly.
So, no average speed, no anything.
You had to wrap the cable all the way down your fork.
Mm-hmm, and you put a magnet on your hub. Yeah. So anyway, that I remember because that's the beginning of when I started racing, and I was glued to that, and all that information I was taking during the race and stuff. And I always raced with a computer, and then the Avocet 35, which was smaller, came out. And there's so many times I found myself in the middle of the race going, I feel like crap, and I look down at the distance, and I'm like, I'm not going to make it. I started playing tricks in my head.
Wow.
And it was more negative than positive. I never got anything positive when I started reflecting back. And then I got in a big crash for the district championship, and it smashed my computer, and I was broke because I was a bike racer. And I couldn't afford it for the rest of the season. That was in June. and I raced way better without that. That was my trend. Is like that information, at least for me, was more hindering.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'll take you back. I think 2 weeks ago I rode with a couple other guys because everybody had something else to do, or they didn't want to ride with me. I don't know what it was, but nevertheless I rode with them. And this one guy was trying to get this one segment, and that's kind of one of the things he does. And he's like, I don't know what happened. I didn't get the KOM. I had my watts, and I mentioned to Sam, and I'm like, it has nothing to do with watts. It doesn't. Segments are speed, and it doesn't matter if you do if some big, upright guys, 200-pound guys cranking out 2,000 watts, and some 140 guys doing 150 watts, and he's faster. That's what matters. That's what bike racing is.
I'm right here, Paul.
No, I wasn't throwing you under the bus. That's his job.
I just
So then I started thinking. So after I had this data on, I started looking at all this data for the last Saturday and Sunday. I rode with those wheels. I'm like, what do I do with that? What do I do with my power? I know some people train.
It's entertainment.
Do these wheels
It
have
is.
power?
It's more entertainment, and that's when you mention that.
Shit, Jay.
There's a power meter in the wheels?
It's entertainment.
It's a power tap. And so to me, it's like the way I've always trained, and it's always worked for me, is our type of training rides. We do kind of mock races. We kind of settle back a little bit, but that you can't determine what is going to happen next. When I use structural training, like what you do, and it probably works for you, but 3-minute intervals, really. Never in a race I'm like, okay, 3 minutes are up. Back off, everybody. This is where, sometimes it goes longer, sometimes shorter, and that's our type of rides. So my question is turning around to everybody else. If you use power or any other data, what do you use to advance as opposed to like entertainment, which is a great. So Sam, what do you use it for? Do you ever say, okay, my power dropped, is that going to affect how you're going to race this race, or even lack of sleep or something? Do you ever think, well, okay, does that change your strategy for a race?
No, I think it's a good metric to see, like, if I'm, doing well in my training. Like, for instance,
training benefits.
That's literally it. Like, in a race, like, when I hit my lap thing in a race, I don't even see power. I don't see heart rate. I just see how fast I'm going and what the time is total in the event. It's like, oh, I'm 30 minutes in. I'm going to have to do this for another 30 minutes. Where do I stand? Because once again, I'm in the more old school thing, because for me, if I look down, I'm like, oh shit, I'm at 190 beats per minute and we've been sitting at 500 watts. What does that do for me? Yeah. Well, either you can do it or you can't do it. Like, there's those two options. So for me, it's a nice metric to see like where my training is, but I don't know. I don't put much weight into it. I'm more like you and, following the feel.
It's funny talking about all this kind of stuff because it's probably a mild splash of hyperbole when I refer to the fact that my Apple Watch saved my life. It was the first thing to tell me that I was an AFib, and that data I am now probably in a paranoid mind sense convinced that I need it for the rest of my life. That even though I know when I'm an AFib now, I'm just like, there we go, something like that. I know when I am.
You would have gone to the doctor. You felt so horrible. You would have. It maybe saved you a day or two.
At the time, I wouldn't have gone to the doctor because I've felt it before. But eventually, I would have probably. Yeah, you're right. Day or two later, I probably would have gone like, okay, this is annoying. I want to get this fixed. Yeah. And I would have waited, kind of a thing, hoping it would have gone away. But I will say it identified it. It called it what it was. And I will admit that I'm probably more reliant upon it on an entertainment basis. But there are a lot of people who train based on those numbers, who are constantly focused on those numbers, and it works for a lot of people. But I get to the point where I'm starting to think, you guys have got me thinking, it's like I am now at the point where even with my heart issues, I don't want my heart on hard rides. I don't want my heart rate on hard rides, and I definitely don't want it on races. I don't want to see those numbers. And I actually want to switch my Yahoo to a program, a specific page that doesn't show me my power numbers. I want to in a race. I don't want to see those numbers.
Like that's what I do.
Yeah, because if I'm looking down, going, I can't hold 700 watts for this long.
The majority of the pros do not look at their watts.
Yeah.
I mean, what I've heard, that's not. But anyway, what do you think, Jackson?
I just have a main page, and the top one is my average 3-second power. But I don't really ever look at my computer in a race scenario because why am I looking down when I could be looking up and analyzing what's going on? But I like when we were sprinted the other day. All of us went for a city limit sign.
Yeah.
And Paul, you said, "What was your power? What was your peak power?" I went, "I have no idea." Because in a sprint scenario, there's no chance that I'm looking down. I am paying attention to where the other people are, where I need to be, all those situations. When it came to the time trial for RC3, though, I was pretty like,
That's a time when you do. Yeah.
I was analyzing it, but I was also going like, wow, like I'm doing better than I thought I was. And if I'm not, I'm like, well, is what it is. I mean, I think that I have a early or late fall. I had a FTP of 260, and so now I just assume that that's how it's always going to be. Not even close.
No.
But
no.
I just
God,
if it's above that, I'm like sweet, and I don't get too hard on myself on it because it can really turn the other way. You can look at it and you go, you're not good enough. You're not putting out what you should be and everything. But I just always try and compliment myself because really this is all I know, but really this is all a mental game when it comes to the number side of it. And if you hype yourself up on those rather than put yourself down, which is super like way easier said than done, you're going to have a better outcome than if you were to have that negative self-talk.
I keep thinking about how much I pay attention to my sleep stats. This is all just fuel for my psychosis.
Yeah, I mean, like the last year,
Who
David
gives
was
a
talking
shit
about like
how many times I woke up in the middle of the night? I
sleeping
now
is-
know how many times I wake up in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
I know how much REM sleep I get.
yeah,
Why?
yeah.
I think
it
it's
probably
fun.
hasn't changed.
Apnea?
Did it tell you about apnea?
No.
Sleep apnea.
Yeah, I know. It's
But
it's a cause of AFib.
Last year,
It's one of the leading causes of AFib. Yeah.
last year, David was talking about how it was, like he
Thanks,
doesn't
David.
follow any of that stuff because like heart rate, like what does it matter if you can't stick with it? You can't stick with it, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like I think that is so true. Like in a race scenario, in the last couple of races, there's been both times like either David and I bridged up to this like breakaway pack, or I was soloing away, and it's like either I can do it or I can't do it. None of this matters.
I'm racing on
it's like,
Thursday with my computer in my pocket.
yeah,
Let's do it.
let's do it.
I'll
It's
just
off
start
the field.
I'll just start the GoPro at the beginning of the race and not worry about
There you
programming it. I mean, no,
Great
I'm not
new
gonna say it.
strategy.
I'm not gonna say it. You guys, I'm gonna bump the Wimples.
That's wonderful.
I don't mean to do that. I'm gonna bump you guys till next week.
I deserve it.
No, you don't.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does.
He's
He was
beating
late.
himself up. More.
Sam, you are the devil on my shoulder.
Okay.
You are just come on.
Jackson's the angel.
Hates that motherfucker.
What?
And Jackson's the angel.
Jackson is the
I
angel.
just don't say anything,
Yeah.
so I don't know if I can be
No,
involved
he
in
just,
this.
No, all you do is you kind of shift your eyes to the side, you raise your eyebrows when it's like, was I loud last Thursday, Jackson? You go,
Maybe.
I told Paul. I told Paul the whole story.
I was laughing.
you're telling me on Father's Day
What?
the whole story.
Okay. You
Am I
want
going
that?
to cry?
You ready to cry?
No. You're not gonna cry at all.
I might. Okay, you guys ready for our outro? Our
Final
1
cue.
1 minute and 19
1K.
seconds. Our final K, gentlemen. Would you rather? We got some would you rather's for the next couple of weeks. Would you rather ride every ride with socks that are ankle length? I mean, like no seams, or with a sleeveless jersey? You have to pick one or the other. Every ride with ankle, no seam socks, or a sleeveless jersey. Who wants to take this bad boy first?
Sleeveless jersey.
So we got two sleeveless jerseys, Paul.
I would, going in the summer, you don't have this silly tan.
Yeah.
That's so cool, though.
No.
So you're sleeveless, Jackson?
Sure. I guess I'll say sleeveless.
Yeah.
Really?
I don't know. I was
How about
thinking
you?
about socks.
I'm just gonna, for the sake of the argument, I'm gonna go ankle socks. I'm gonna
Oh,
go
it looks
with the no
so
seams.
bad, though.
There was a guy in our race again with ankle socks. I
That's
just
a triathlete.
You should have told him.
yeah.
Were they a
I
triathlete?
should have told him. Should kind of go.
Hey, fucker.
We don't
By
do
the
that
way, we
here.
don't
You guys, you look stupid. Get out of the race.
Thanks,
Why are you
every-
even here?
Pull your visor down. At least make an arrow. What kind of music you listen to? I bet it's country.
Thanks, everybody. Please like and subscribe. Rank us on iTunes. Do us a favor, or rank us on whatever podcast catch engine you have to do. Drop us those reviews. We always love to hear those. And be sure to like and subscribe. It helps us in terms of... I ran out of time. Helps in returns of you figure it out. Talk to you next week. Thanks.